Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson couldn't work with Jimmy Graham. Okay, now, time out. Russell makes everybody great. In Sean Payton's system, he worked. LeBron wouldn't block anybody. You got to block in the NFL at tight end. He don't want to get hit in the ribs.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to draw the Jimmy Graham comparison too much because Jimmy Graham has had a very good career.
In one spot, he had 4 great years.
Okay. I mean, so we're assuming that LeBron would have played no college football and come in and been Jimmy Graham. I mean, I think that's a little disrespectful to Jimmy Graham.
Well, Jimmy's 6'7", though. I mean, he's an NBA body.
Right, but LeBron is an NBA player. There's a certain callous to even playing college football. That's the thing that everyone's missing. Like, this is a super fun scenario to play out, and it's fun to talk about. But we're assuming that LeBron, it's not the same thing as MJ playing baseball in high school to then playing basketball and going back to baseball. Baseball is very hard technically to play, obviously. It's a very skilled sport, but there's not as much physical callus that you need to be ready to play baseball. The NFL, you have those years in college for a reason. You grow into your man body. You learn how to take hits. You learn how to properly tackle, block, etc. LeBron skipped that process. So if we're having like a real conversation about this, that's the issue. That's what DeMarcus is talking about. There's no way. That's a very difficult thing to do. You want to line up across?
No, I just because you dominated 5'8" cornerbacks in Ohio.
Yeah, I don't like high school's great. Lots of people crush it in high school.
I know.
Check tape, bro. But what's the next level?
I'm not even sure. I think LeBron would have gone to college and had to line up across from Nick Bosa and said, I don't want to block this guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And that's not disgracing LeBron. It's a different sport.
LeBron's the biggest, strongest guy in the NBA. Find me videos of him dunking over equal-sized players. He doesn't like contact like that. He likes to dominate small guards and shoot threes.
Even if he did like contact, in the NBA, the guy's standing there. In the NFL, he's running towards you. You're running towards each other.
And colliding and hitting you and hurting you.
Full speed. Finally, most people have LeBron battling Michael Jordan for GOAT status in the NBA, but Paul Pierce weighed in on it yesterday and said LeBron does not crack the top 5.
Oh, God.
His list of the 5 greatest NBA players of all time are Jordan, Kareem, Bill Russell, Magic Johnson, and Kobe.
It's a great list. I think LeBron.
List, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking the list, but he's better than Bill Russell. Bill Russell couldn't handle the ball or shoot. I mean, I'm sorry, but that matters.
Well, I feel like there's like a little bit of bias coming from Paul Pierce in this situation.
A little bitterness.
LeBron did knock him out of the playoffs in 2011 and 12 and 14. And
I mean, come on. That's like
the Cavs did ruin his ceremony.
Certain things I'm not going to debate. LeBron's top 5. He's
the top 5.
If you did a starting 5 all time in the NBA, Magic's your point. Your 2 guard is Michael. Nobody disputes that. You can argue centers. You probably go Kareem. And then LeBron's your small forward. And then you figure out, I would put Bird because I think you need a shooter. Because I don't think Michael's a 3-shooter. Magic's not. LeBron's okay. Kareem's not. You need a 3-ball shooter. So you need, or otherwise, it just like clogged the paint. So you'd put Larry Bird in because he could shoot 3s.
I will say, though, we should have more of the conversation about Kobe in the top 5. I think Kobe kind of runs into it because we always compare him to Michael, and
Michael's your 2 guard.
Michael a better player.
Yeah, well, Michael's your 2 guard. Kobe's your 2 guard on the second best team with Isaiah. Isaiah Kobe or Stockton Kobe. Probably Isaiah Kobe is your second backcourt.
I just don't mind Kobe being in the top 5. Like, I'm okay with that conversation. But LeBron also has to be in there.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
I got all sorts of stuff today. I really do. I want to save some of it, though. I don't want to give my best stuff away. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, I was so excited for this. How is Shams around the corner? How many minutes out? Give me a heads up. Can I start a topic? Okay, 2 minutes. I want to tell you something. This is only going to be a couple minutes. I want to do, you always know how I feel about USC football and Miami. I love college football, but I think it's become regionalized, and I miss the Miami Hurricanes and USC. And I believe if you gave the top 20 programs in college football, all great coaches, they all had a Jimmy Johnson, they all had a Urban, they all had a Saban, that the 2 best programs would not be SEC programs. It would be Miami and USC, because I think Dade County, they would never have to leave Dade County, except maybe get a quarterback. And I think LA is good, but they have to leave the state to get most of their players, right? So there's a thing that came out yesterday. It's amazing. Total NFL snaps from 2006 to 2019. You think Alabama, right? And Saban's been there. They don't crack the top 5. Now, there's always been a theory that Nick squeezes every ounce of talent out of Alabama players, and by the time they get to the NFL, Alabama players have peaked. Number 1 is Miami. They haven't been great in 15 years, and they're number 1 on this list. USC hasn't been great since 2008. They're number 5 on this list. Folks, I've said it before. I love college football. But the fact that Miami's 1 and USC is 5, they haven't even had great recruiting classes mostly in the last 10 years. They've had a couple of them. Lane Kiffin had one great one at USC. This shows you the power and the potential of Miami and USC football. I got nothing against Georgia, but USC Texas got a 22 rating. A 22. Bama Clemson gets a 15-16. 35% of the audience would come back in if you had Miami and USC, which give you not only, like Alabama's a machine. Machines are boring. The coach is the key to the success, not the players. Miami was personality, players first. The coach, I mean, they had like 5 coaches won. Everybody won there. Butch Davis won, Dennis Erickson won, Howard Schnellenberger won, Jimmy Johnson won. Good God, what was the assistant that got fired? The guy for Butch Davis, Larry Coker won, for God's sakes. Larry Coker won. Alabama's never had a bad coach who won. Big. So it's like, I saw that list yesterday. The fact that Miami's 1 and hasn't been relevant in mostly 15 years, most snaps, and that USC is 5, college football will never hit its peak without those 2 being great. When they're great, and you can have SEC teams, and Ohio State, and you can have everybody else. But if USC and Miami aren't great, the sport's never as good. It's never as good because they gave you swagger, they gave you personality, they gave you big city. It didn't feel as rural, it didn't feel as regionalized. It felt big. It felt like 70% college football, 30% NFL. College football is leaving so much off the table unless they have Miami and USC. I also think Texas is underrated as a brand. I think when Texas is good, the sport's better. Charania is now joining us, senior NBA insider, The Athletic and Stadium. He is joining us via the Coward Global Satellite Network. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. All right, let's start this, Shams. Let's start Orlando, Disney World. What is the very latest on the season restarting?
Hey, Con, great joining you. So the NBA has Disney World in Orlando as the front runner to be its playing site when they do, if they do, resume the 2019-20 season. And that has, everything is leading and the momentum is all going that way. And players are hopeful that there will be a ramp-up period over the next couple of weeks where players will start to be able to do group workouts in facilities and then transition into full training by mid-June and hopefully somewhat of a training camp, 2, 3, 4-week training camp before they end up going to a bubble site such as Orlando, which is in the lead in Disney World. Obviously, a lot of different connections between, Disney, the NBA being partners, and now the likelihood that Disney in Orlando will be the playing site over, they consider Las Vegas and Houston, but Orlando has a lot of different factors. The controllability of the city, of the playing site at the resort, of the property, and I think a lot of factors are leading in that direction.
You have a lot of connections to players. When you talk to players, anonymously, not publicly, what are they truly saying?
There's this perception that players don't want to play or don't feel like they want to play. I've gotten the complete opposite. And speaking of the majority of players, star players, owners, executives, they want to be out on that basketball court. They want to have a finality of the season because everyone understands how much is at stake financially, how much is at stake for the sport. And if you can do it safely, which there is that caveat in there, the players want to do it. And it goes from, all the star players, the star owners, whether it's Mark Cuban, Mark Lazary in Milwaukee, they all want to have a resumption of the season. And so that's all I've heard. And whether it's in Orlando, Las Vegas, the players ultimately will trust in Adam Silver and trust that he will be able to find the right playing site for them.
You recently talked to Todd Musburger, Brent's son, and the agent of Phil Jackson for a long time. We watched the Jordan documentary. I thought Phil came off very well, very smart. The Zen master was his ability to spin so many plates and personalities, I thought was just absolutely is mind-bending. I was so blown away. He got Michael Jordan to write a poem at the end. When you talk to Todd Musburger, his thoughts with Phil and how difficult that 98 season was.
Yeah, it was difficult because it got off to such a bad start in 1997 where there was so much friction between Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson. And as Todd Musburger, Phil Jackson's agent, put it to me, is we were never given a formal offer from the Bulls in 1998 to return. I don't know if Phil would have, but we would not. We at least would have had a decision to make, and there was not a decision to make. Again, the Bulls, Jerry Reinsdorf, they've come out publicly and said Phil Jackson was given an opportunity to return in 98, but the wounds were just too deep between Jerry Krause, Phil Jackson, and at that point, Phil Jackson was checked out, and that ultimately led to the departures of Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, so on and so forth.
Were you surprised, Shams, at the popularity of Jordan? And the polls are coming out now, 70-30, people still